The new Lethal Company V55 update has just released, and with it comes the new company cruiser. I made a video a couple weeks ago about the new update, and the things that actually came in it was different from what I talked about in that video. For example, sorry guys, no liquidation. That's my bad. But you may still enjoy the changes that come with this update. So today we're going to talk about everything that was introduced in this new V55 update, including the company cruiser as well as a couple of new enemies. First off, let's talk about the company cruiser, as this is what had the most amount of hype surrounded around it. You can buy the company cruiser for 400 points in the company store, and it will be drone dropped to you just like any other item. I find it impossible to believe that a drone is capable of carrying an entire truck, but it can. So that's cool. You may not need me to tell you this, but be careful, as sometimes the cruiser drops on top of map hazards. For example, while testing, the cruiser dropped on top of a mud pile and even a beehive at one point. So things like this are gonna make the cruiser harder for you to access. When you get inside the car, this is what it's gonna look like. Before you try driving the cruiser though, I recommend you take a look at the instruction manual located in the back of the car. The manual has 3 to 4 pages of instructions that gives you some valuable information on how the car works. This is where a lot of the information that we'll be talking about will be coming from. Speaking of the trunk, it's actually quite spacious. I was worried that it wouldn't have enough space to carry all of your things and your squad mates, but I think I may have been wrong about that. There seems to be plenty of space for you to carry stuff back there, and there's even a little cabin window for you to peek through. When you get inside the cruiser, you can start it up by pressing and holding down the E button, but this thing is super janky, so don't be surprised if it takes you 2 to 3 times or more to get it going. The cruiser has 3 gears that you can switch from: park, reverse, and drive. Be warned though that the cruiser will stay in whatever gear you leave it in whenever you get out, so make sure you always put it back in park whenever you exit, or else this is gonna happen. You'll be chasing the cruiser all around the freaking map. There's a few other features that the cruiser comes with, including an eject button, and then on the left of the car you can access some other features such as the windshield wipers, opening and closing the cabin window, and turning your headlights off and on. Those are some of the basics of the cruiser out of the way, but keep watching because now we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty behind the company cruiser. Let's talk operation. This thing is actually very hard to control. I experimented around with the cruiser for about an hour, and holy crap, I felt like I had stick drift on mouse and keyboard. The pedal seems to be really sensitive because holding down the drive button for any longer than 1 or 2 seconds causes the van to spin completely out of control. So when you're driving, I highly recommend you feather the pedal. That way you don't lose too much control too quickly. The cruiser also does not work very well with the terrain of the game's moons either. The cruiser is really big and clunky, and is really hard to control. This, in combination with the bumpy terrains of Lethal Company's moons, can add an extra layer of challenge that may be an unnecessary headache for some players. The game actually warns you about this in the company cruiser's instruction manual, telling us that the CC is your trusty mule, not a speed racer. So like I said before, drive carefully, feather your pedal. Since the terrain is super bumpy though, the company cruiser oftentimes gets flipped over, so you'll oftentimes find yourself having to get out and flip it back over. One of the last things you need to know about the company cruiser is its hidden health bar. The cruiser does take damage by hitting obstacles like rocks, trees, and even enemies themselves. However, you can restore your cruiser's health. All you have to do is connect your cruiser to your ship by using the magnet in the back of the ship and take it back into orbit. It doesn't matter how or which way you attach it, as long as it's connected, you will be good to go. Another very important thing to know is that you should never press down on the drive button whenever the cruiser is in park. I learned this the hard way, as whenever I did it, it caused the entire cruiser to completely explode and leaving me in total confusion. The instruction manual tells us about this, saying doing so will displace the connection rod, leading to immediate engine failure. So be a good driver, make sure your car is in park. Now that we've talked about the company cruiser, let's talk about the 2 new enemies added in the V55 update. The first new enemy is called the Kidnapper Fox.
What the fuck was that?
Ew.
What the fuck?
Oh shit. I was running away. Oh shit. Oh shit. This is a fox-like creature that will spawn alongside a vein shroud. Vein shrouds are these red plants that can spawn in kidnapper foxes at any time. According to the game's fandom page, it seems that there has to be more than 1 vein shroud present in order for a kidnapper fox to spawn. But seeing as this update still is in beta, I don't know as to how accurate that actually is. The second new enemy is probably the most interesting, at least in my opinion, and that is called the Clay Surgeon. I wasn't too sure what to expect when I heard the name Clay Surgeon, so while I was researching, I found that a video was shared to the Lethal Company Discord, link down below. But big spoiler warning in the next 5 seconds, so if you don't want to see it and you want to experience it for yourself, click ahead to the next chapter, otherwise your surgeon has arrived. If you've already seen one of these 2 new monsters in your game, let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite. There were some additional patches that were added to the game, so let's talk about those right now. Okay, so here are some patch notes that I found in the Lethal Company subreddit. Mind you, this update is in beta, so there are no official patch notes for the game yet. Top, you can see 2 new causes of death, inertia and snipped. Inertia has to do with you crashing if you're inside of the company cruiser, and then snipped is the death status for the clay surgeon. TZP, inhalant, drunkenness, speed, and visual effect curves were adjusted. The tulip snake spawn chance and spawn fall off curves have been adjusted as well. The knife can now hit multiple entities, so if you've got yourself a knife, you'll be able to hit multiple entities with that. There were some map changes as well. For experimentation, its indoor power was increased from 4 to 14, which is actually a pretty big buff now that I'm thinking about it. There were some changes to Embryon as well. Its minimum and maximum scrap amounts were increased. Its minimum from 11 to 14 and maximum from 15 to 16. So not super drastic there, but you'll be able to find more stuff there at Embryon. Its daytime spawn curve has been adjusted as well, and you can no longer spawn Manticolas. The last of our map changes were to Rend, which no longer will spawn Earth Leviathans. Last changes in this update are some bug fixes, including a fixed bug where the shotgun could hit the same entity multiple times. The forest giant no longer instantly kills employees that are standing above its spawn position. That's actually really great, thank God for that. Fixed a bug where bamboo hawks were able to deal damage while stunned or dead, and then finally fixed a bug where the employee was able to use the zap gun while in an animation with an entity. The company cruiser, although a little janky right now, is a much needed change that I think will go a long way towards helping you and your team meet those quotas just a little bit easier. But what do you think of the new V55 update? Did it meet your expectations? Is it what you wanted? Let me know down in the comments below, but otherwise, thank you guys very much for watching. Enjoy your next shift with the company, and until next time, you guys take care of yourselves, be easy, stay positive, and of course, I'll catch you guys on the flip.